Hello, sir.
Hey guys, this is October 26th, day traders versus the weekly outlook. Today, we got to go over quite a bit, starting with earnings. We got a big week of earnings coming up this week, so that's probably what's going to drive most of the price action this week. We got a lot of people reporting. We got the FANG stocks. You got your Meta, Microsoft, Alphabet. So Meta, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, Apple. So this is probably going to be our big movers on that Thursday and Friday. Wednesdays close into Thursday and Friday. That'll probably be our biggest days because of that. Um, we ended up closing positive for the week. Um, we do have We do have some red folders this week. Nothing on Monday and Tuesday, but we do have pending home sales. We got the Fed rate on Wednesday, so that ties into what we just mentioned. So we got on Wednesday's close, we got Meta, Facebook, and Google, and we even got ServiceNow, and we even got Starbucks. So. And we got our Fed rate release, which we can check and see. Let's see what the Fed rate CME CME. Right now, I think they are projecting. They're actually projecting a 0.25 cut. So right now we currently at 0.25, 4.25. They're saying it'll drop between 4 and 3.75. I actually don't agree with it, but we right now this is usually what they go by. They're saying 3.8% of the people, and I'm one of the 3.88% of the people who think it'll just stay the same, but we'll see. I think that will stay the same because of the government shutdown and the data. It is saying that we should cut technically, but I think again, man, a lot of this stuff is tariff driven, so I don't really agree with the cuts right now because this is really all based on tariffs and the uncertainty in the market because of what the president is doing right now. So you know, n- I won't, take it into, I'll just take that into consideration going forward into next week. Um, so back to so yeah, like Wednesday we have the Fed rate release. We got pending homes, Fed rate. Then Thursday, I don't think we have GDP on Thursday, and we have unemployment costs. Is PCE. PCE is what the feds use to gauge inflation anyway, one of their bigger factors. So that's where we'll be looking to. So Wednesday until Friday should be driving us. And then, next week we may have NFP if they open up the government. Daylight savings time, we go back on Sunday. So we gotta keep that in mind as well. So we'll have to make sure that we know that once we this weekend's over with, that we have daylight savings. We gotta roll our time fall back. So those are the big news things. I'll start with the options. Again, I'm in grab on the 6 and the $7 calls. I'm up right now. I want to see us continue to take out this high at 614. That'll be the next high. We may have a little pause here because of this little small fair value gap, but I still think we should be clean to take out this high at 614. And then of course I'll be looking at that 662 high, which is still the goal. I'm still in NVDA on the earnings play from I have 250 contracts, 230 contracts on this for the November 21st calls. I want us to hold above this price gap, which is this is going to be what I'm looking for, this first move. But I put these two here because I do understand we could be rejecting. We could still reject this 187. And right here, I don't have it drawn, but this is a little gap as well. I'll go ahead and add that. This gap to the downside. So we could see some rejection there. I don't want to see it, but I want to see us trade right through that. But I do know I will acknowledge that we could see some failure there. But overall, I think we hold this price gap if we do see some sell off, and then we push up from there. So let me give you NVDA. Let's drop this in the chat. And let me put grab in there too. And then the other one I'm still playing is Neo. Neo's pushed up from off of that out of this 622 to 678 range. I want to see us continue to push above that and get into this inverted fair value gap that we had. That's where I'm looking at us to get some potential rejection, but I want us to clear these highs. So that's kind of what I'm going to be looking for. If we do fall back into this range, I do want to see us hold and keep this low maintained. And again, we already remember I'm in the 10, I'm in the 8, and I'm in the 7 contracts on this for the May 15th. I might be talking off the side of my head though, because I can't remember exactly what the contract's in, but I do know for sure I'm in the 10 and the 8 for sure. So here's Neo. And now we can get into the indices and dollar. So dollar, we didn't quite do as much as I thought we would. We set this low the week before last, and we traded into this order block, and we held. We left a fair value gap here, and we went ahead and took out this high, this high. But now we ended up right back inside of this fair value gap from the daily, and we've held that. I still think that this is going to be an area of importance. So either we hold within this range and push up and climb above this to go ahead and target first these highs and then this high. But if we can't do that, then we'll definitely reject here. But this accumulation near this kind of gives me an idea that we'll definitely make a move off of this range. I just don't know how it'll play out. So we may be stalling for the Fed rate release. So I think that's why we're stalling here. So we're gonna go ahead and stick with that being the reason why we get this stall. So there's dollar. Let's just drop dollar in the chart in the chat. And let's look at gold. Gold kind of ranged last week. Um, at the end of the week, I'm sorry. But we had a huge drop. The huge drop that we had happened near the highs, all-time highs. We sold off the highs. But I think this is just a part of the retracement that we needed to get. Which I'm okay with that being I'm okay with us getting a retracement on on gold. If we do see that gold starts to push up, this particular level right here is one that I'll be paying attention to. to see how we get back into these highs again. And it's because this was a very strong level, buy level, and we bought very hard from this level, and then we also sold off very hard from this level. And if we do get back above this, I can see that this may be an area that we use to push up even higher off of. So we'll need to kind of pay attention to how we handle this level if we do push up back to the upside. If we stay heavy, which we definitely could, if we stay heavy, um, this low will be the first low that I'm looking at, right? This is Friday's low. Um, Let me get that. Friday's low. But reason why I'm thinking we'll push up because we got these equal highs here on gold, and these relatively equal highs, they are probably going to get taken out. I could see those getting taken out pretty easily with the fact that we close kind of higher on at the end of the day on Friday. Since we closed near this high, I think we'll go ahead and try to take these highs out. I'll just add this in. So liquidity here. And then this was last week's low, right at the inverted fair value gap that we picked up on Wednesday on our midweek review call. That one was one that bounced right off of that low, pretty clean. Um, so I think we leave this low intact. This happened at a very pivotal point. So I think we leave these two lows intact, leave this low intact, and then we go after these highs to try to see how we respond. Once we get to this area, I do see a potential for us to sell off, but if we don't get the sell off, we use this area to hold and push up higher. So this is gold. This is what I'll be looking at for gold. And now we'll go to the indices, look at YM. YM was actually very clean this week. YM was really, really good. I kind of wish I had touched a couple of plays on YM instead of ES and Q, but it's okay. So opening for the week, we moved up off of this inverted fair value gap. And we inverted it on the opening of the week. We end up having this 4 hour fair value gap, traded back into it, set the low inside of there, pushed up. We had another inverted fair value gap, and it was like two combined, right? We had a small gap right here, then another gap right here, and then we pushed up off of this range higher. We inverted it around on this candle, took out the high, created a new fair value gap. So now I'm looking at the overlap. We have a fair value gap on the 4 hour, and we have overlap between that inverted fair value gap and this 4 hour fair value gap. So this is going to be the main play that I look for, where we have overlap between the midpoint of this fair value gap down to the low and the high of this fair value gap. So I'll probably be looking to set some moves right around 47.079 will be like a very, very key level for me. And I'll just mark it off in here. This little range right here, why didn't it pick it up? This little range right here is going to be a very, very high probability range that I look for. And just given the circumstances of where we've been, We got our overlap between the fair value gap and the inverted fair value gap. So that's going to be very, very, very important range. So I am going to assume that there are buyers there. I'm going to assume that there's some buyers sitting there heavily. And then, if we do get a move off this level, first target's all-time high, 4,600, 47,600, and up to 47,800 is the target that I'll be looking for on these. Maybe we get those targets, maybe we don't, but overall, that's where I think we're headed to. Sometimes we don't get the whole move because of how the market is moving. But overall, that's what I'm looking for. If we sell off, I know that we need to sell through this range and then below this inverted fair value gap. And then I see us targeting this low, this previous day low from Wednesday. And then just to keep us honest, main target will be back down to this 4 hour fair value gap that got inverted inside of this order block. So and there is a fair value gap here below, but I don't want to really concern myself with that yet. And then on a daily, there's a price gap that's here inside of this gap that I definitely think that's why I'm only going to concern myself with that for now because I know we would have to deal with these first. So that's why my downside target is what it is. Um, so that is Dow. Then on ES, it's a similar situation, right? Um, we took plays, took plays on Wednesday and Thursday and Friday on ES. Thursday and Friday, I took them off the chart, but I tried to take this buy on Thursday. I did get it, but I moved my stop loss up, got taken out on that. Similar situation near the high on ES over here. Um, take that back. That was on ES. This is NQ. Sorry, this is NQ. I think I still did take this same trade on Friday on NQ. Yeah, I actually sold this little drop right here and I bought this run up on ES. So I sold in Q up here, bought ES here, bought in Q and ES down here, and that was it for the week. Those were the trades that I took. I think that if we get a sell off, we either hold here at this 1 hour fair value gap. That's our first point of interest. And then if we trade below that, there's this really very pertinent area of liquidity. It's right here. And this area of liquidity came on news. So that's why this one's a little more important than you normally consider. And this was our previous all-time high that got taken out. And we got a new one. So this area is probably one we may want to come to. So we either hold in here or there's this 4 hour fair value gap that's right here. This one's more in line with an overlap play where we have this inverted fair value gap that's right here. We overlap and maybe we trade down to this area, but we wick through this 4 hour fair value gap, but we don't trade below this 25,075.75 low. We just wick down into it and then we go from there. I think this low will still be intact if we can't get below this. So what I'll be looking for is if we just go ahead and push up and buy We have targets at around 25,700 area. Um, we could hold down in this 1 hour fair value gap. If we continue to sell off, we use this as a new level to sell off from in order to get down to this 4 hour fair value gap. And then if we get in this 4 hour fair value gap, we could also see ourselves buying from this level as well. And if we continue to sell off for some reason, we would need to trade below this particular inverted fair value gap and then start to look for sell-offs from there. And then this low would be the target on the downside. I don't know how we're gonna play this out, but that'll be main thing that I'll be looking for on NAS. On ES, similar again. Last week on the 4 hour, we open up inside of an inverted fair value gap. Well, we open up inside of a fair value gap to the downside. We inverted it here. We traded above the inverted fair value gap on this candle. We inverted it. The order block, once we traded above this high, there's a fair value gap that was created here. We actually didn't use that one and we held inside of its inverted fair value gap. Now, created a new order block to the downside, created a fair value gap. The fair value gap got breached here on this candle, traded through on this candle. There's a 4 hour fair value gap inside of this candle. And then we left the inversion and we'll probably, worst case we come back down to this level. I need to add this one. We could likely see ourselves trade down into this level. And then we can see ourselves trade down into this 4 hour fair value gap and then move up from there. Or we could immediately just be pushing up, which is always a possibility. So see 4 buying setups before. But we could also be selling off. If we sell off and close down below this 4 hour fair value gap, then we have the sell set up from that level. We could also see that we have price buy at this 4 hour to down to this inverted fair value gap and then push up from there. If for some reason we get below this range, again, we still can use this range, but we can use it to sell. But for now, I don't see us taking out the low we had from last week, and we hold inside of this inverted fair value gap that we had here. We could definitely get below that because there's some lows that we left behind here. And then there's also this little small fair value gap as well that's right here. So I definitely can see that there is a possibility, but I would need some of this to play out before I would start looking at any of that. So this is what I'll be looking for ES on ES, mainly going into the early start of the week, where we have plays that from the bottom, from the upside to the downside, and then however we kind of navigate throughout the week, that'll determine what I look for. This is SPX. And right now my goal is to kind of like oh well, I'll go ahead. This is the trade that I took on the 24th. That was Friday. This buy was the buy that I was looking at on Friday for ES. Just wanted to kind of go over this one and why. What's this Friday? Or no, this was Thursday. Let me find the buy from Friday. I think I put it in the chat.
Yeah, that was you took both ES and MNQ both, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Let me pull it up. I just wanted to just reiterate why I went in this one.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, so like actually, I wanted to talk about that because I took sale, right?
yeah,
So I was expecting to go down a little bit more and then like OT entry, and then I'll just grab buy, but I couldn't.
yeah,
That's why I took both side, like sale and buy. That sale was for buy.
yeah. So
Hmm.
this was the trade right here, and the reason why I was thinking buy, which let me move this out of the way. So here, so this was the start of it, right? We had just had CPI, and let me see. We had just had CPI, right?
Hmm.
And my thoughts on us just having CPI. Oh, so I can't mark it up. Okay, hold on. Give me 1 second. I just want to make this bigger. My thought on CPI was that, I didn't want to really have an opinion, right? And I didn't want to have an opinion on it because of how the market been doing, right? But at the time, the all-time high had just been taken out, and at that particular moment, uh, the new the entry for the CPI news and that it never really gave you an entry on this candle right here that we took out the all-time high on. This candle didn't really give us an entry on the lower time frame, right? So I was just kind of like, if we do sell off, we need to have a setup near this high, right? Where we had a fair value gap that got traded through all of our setups, right? But at the same time, these lows were actually the ones that I was looking at in order to see whether or not we would be selling off any further. Because from these highs that we made right here, we would have wanted to see our low highs, then our inversion, then our sell off, where we would have got a fair value gap inside of there, enter over here. We got something along the lines here, right? But since we didn't sell off right here and we made a new high, that was the reason why I wasn't looking for the sale no more, right? Because we did actually get our inversion right here. And once we got our inversion and we didn't sell off, that was kind of room, once we take this high out, right? Once we start taking this high and we don't sell off from here for real, that was the sign that, all right, they just balanced this out right here. This is no longer selling, right? So since they just balanced this out and we made a new high, that was the signal to say, hey, I don't really need to look for sales right now. Plus, I know also above me on this particular setup is also 6850 above this high, above these highs. So I don't have it on here, but 6850 is almost here. So
So
even
like, if I'll ask, like, for going like exactly that green border where it was like now no more sale, right? Yeah, this one. So I exactly sold there.
yeah,
So you said like because it took previous high and market is making like higher low. That's why this is going up, right? You assume that this is going up.
yeah, that's why I was like, hey, it's probably not gonna be selling off yet, right?
Mhm.
Plus, right here at this area right here, there's a order block, bullish order block with the inverted fair value gap. We should have been selling off right here, and we didn't. So even if we were going to sell, there's still a means for a reason for us to try to buy this right here. And that's what took place. That was the buy that I took, right? So because we already had a positive reaction to the news, I wasn't really looking for the sale anymore, right? Um because of that reason right there, you know. If we
Mhm.
had a had any real um negative reactions, you know, or we actually held any other negative areas, then I would have probably looked for sales, right? But once we got up in this range, right? I'm gonna clear all the drawings. The only sale setup we got was here.
Yeah.
The only sale setup we got is here.
Hmm.
We balanced it out right here. This neutralized that sale area, right? And then once we got in this area, instead of us selling off, we actually made a new high right here. So for now, it's just like, you know, I can't really look for sales until we trade below this range at that point. Because this is the last bullish area. We would need to create a selling area that takes out a bullish area in order for me to look for a sale. So if we had a got like a, you know, inverted fair value get set up down here, then I would have been looking for sales down here from here.
Yeah, actually, in that FVG is first fair value gap after 9:30, right?
This one right here.
So yeah, so it was like 9:34. Yeah, exactly this one.
Mhm.
So this was also my buy point. I mean, so I wanted to buy from here, but thing was that like uh, before the CPI, I was reviewing my back data of CPI, right? So few times it happened right when, because CPI can go in any direction, right? So
Yeah.
we can make setup, right? So
Yeah.
I always stay out from to make that setup. After that, whatever is happening, I always focus on that, right? So whenever like at this time it went up, so like it need to come like to retrace that candle. Yeah.
Mhm.
And below 50%, whatever is the first FAG, I can go for say buy, right?
Mhm.
So I was looking something like that setup, like it came till 50%, but I was looking like if more, little bit more, like 6805.25. So
For
I
the buy,
think, sorry.
for the buy.
Yeah, yeah.
But again, what do
Mm-hmm.
we have here? And what do we have right here? That's our overlap right here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That is our overlap. So our overlap is basically at just below the bottom of the fair value gap. And that's why this entry or this entry would have worked right here. Instead of looking at, and like you would never have gotten 6808 yet because
Mm-hmm.
we still got to deal with this range first.
Yeah.
We got to deal
I
with,
think I missed that point. And the the way you are looking, I think I need to look like that, because I miss few. I wanted to buy. It was my buy, but I
yeah,
don't know why I added that sale, because if I'll say like I was little bit more greedy, I wanted to make it in both side. Like
yeah,
I'll take this sale first and then buy, but yeah, that means I should avoid this kind of trading in both direction if that is not clear, right?
right. Yeah. And
Mhm.
then another thing, another reason why this was the trade that I was looking at, you'll
Mhm.
notice that I noted right here, there was divergence between NES and NQ at the same time.
Mhm.
So at the same time, there was a fair value gap on NQ as well.
Yeah, there was. Yeah.
NQ didn't even go this deep into the fair value gap. It went like halfway and then it started running.
Yeah.
And on YM didn't even come back into his. It was just gone. It had already taken out the high that was here. It already had made this high and already started setting this high. So with those things in mind, that was the reason, it wasn't just that the setup was there. It was the divergence. It was the setup. It was plus the divergence, plus the fact that NQ and ES had already done this. So if we go to ES, um, and NQ at the same time. So if we look at ES, this was the 9:30 candle. Let's go to 15-minute first, and then go to the 1 minute. So this is that same fair value gap order block setup right here.
Mm-hmm.
And if we go to NQ, 15-minute, at the time when we were trading this in Q, the low we entered on was right here. And Q said this, we had already traded through this, traded down to it. ES hadn't done this. ES, sorry, ES low that was equal to this low was at the middle of the fair value gap.
Mm-hmm.
And in Q only came back halfway. So we in Q went all the way down to the bottom of it. You see the overlap pretty much at this little bitty inversion right here. It wicked it and then ran. And ES had not come down this far. It had only come to the middle. So if we look at ES, that's that same low. The low that NQ made, the next low NQ made was at the halfway point. This actually went all the way to the bottom, right? So if we go back to ENQ, that's this low. So this is a higher low right here. And now higher low, and we starting to run away from it, right? So that's another reason why, it wasn't just that particular the fact that this fair value gap was here, the fact that it was the combination. And then if we go to Dow and we start looking at Dow, this was really, really like one of the main reasons because in Q had been making this fair value gap. You see what Dow did? Same fair value gap time frame, traded through it, took out the high, wicked it, and ran. And now we took out the high, we make another high, we make another high. We can't get back below this low. We starting to make new highs here. So once I'm seeing all of those in conjunction, it's like
Mm-hmm.
I know that I'm okay to at least try this buy because I'm
Mm.
seeing all of the divergence between the rest of the pairs as well.
Yeah, got you.
So just make sure, when you looking at it, you at your setup, just remember to check and see what the rest of them are doing too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because, it's always good to check because ES don't really lead the way most of the time.
Yeah.
Most of the time it's Dow and it's NQ.
Mm-hmm.
Dow and NQ, you're gonna get the same type of, points of interest, but it's just gonna react different, right?
Yeah.
So divergence with our strategy combined is a lot stronger than what you would normally be trading. Just trading the strategy by ourselves will end up putting you on the wrong side in some cases. And even if you are on the wrong side or the right side, it's just a better confirmation, an additional confirmation to know, like, hey, I'm looking at things the way that I should be looking at them.
Mm-hmm.
So don't forget, you know, that's
Yeah.
why I always trade with with multiple windows open
Mm-hmm.
so that I can be watching all the pairs at the same time. So I can make sure
Right.
that I'm seeing everything. All right. So if I'm making a high on NQ, I should be making a high on ES. If I'm making a low on ES, I should be making a low on NQ at the same time. If I make a higher low on ES, but NQ takes out a low, that means it's probably going to be some break in the divergence, right? And then I need to react accordingly to how that is traded, you know?
Yeah.
So just like like okay, a quick example. We make this low, we make a higher low, higher low. That's on ES, right?
Mm-hmm.
On NQ, we make this low, we make a higher low. We actually take that low out right here, but we hold it and we trade above. So if I'm looking at in Q, we take this low, but we still trade below it and we still push above it. If I'm seeing this on NQ, that's a sign on ES that I'll probably get equal lows around the same area, which relative equal lows, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I do know that if I look at NQ, that means I could take the buy on ES and be safer to take the buy, you know?
Right.
And just like whatever time frame you're looking at, I would usually want to look at a higher one or two time frames ahead of that. So if I'm looking at the 1 hour chart, I should, like if I'm on the 15-minute chart, I should probably be looking at what's happening on the 1 hour chart. If I'm looking at the 1 hour chart, I should probably be looking at the 4 hour or the daily to make sure that I'm seeing exactly what I want to see.
Got you.
If I'm on the 5 minute chart, I need to be looking at the 1 hour or the 15 minute just to
Mm-hmm.
confirm. If I'm on the 1 minute chart, I need to be looking at the 5 minute, 15 minute chart, and maybe even the 1 hour chart sometimes, right? So you
Mm-hmm.
you want to always, you know, double check a
Yeah,
couple
with high time
time
frame.
frames higher,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah.
Just because you see the setup on the 1 minute, don't always assume that it's gonna play out completely based off of the 1 minute chart. Because it
Mm-hmm.
may be something like on the 15-minute chart, we might need to get a high on the 15-minute chart before we can actually see the sell off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if we looking at the 15-minute chart and you were actually looking for a sell setup, you would see, hey, there before I try to sell on the 1 minute chart, the 15-minute chart just put in a bullish fair value gap right here.
Yeah.
So I can't be looking for a sale here on the 1 minute if the 15-minute is making a new bullish fair value gap, right?
Mm-hmm.
But once I get, you know, once I get near these highs right here on the 15 on the 1 minute, right?
Mm-hmm.
Start looking for my inversion, right? Because we got our 15-minute fair value gap right here. We get inside of this range. This is the last low. The first time we start taking out lows is up here and up here. Then maybe I could start looking for it. But you still got to understand I'm inside of a higher time frame point of interest. I'm inside of a 15-minute fair value gap to the upside. So maybe I'm looking at this to sell from, right? This is the first time I get something on the 15-minute that plays out, right? I got a 1 minute. I'm sorry, this is the first time on a 1 minute that I get something that plays out. Once I take out this high, I make this high, I have a bullish fair value gap that gets inverted. I get a setup off of this candle right here inside of this fair value gap. So that's this. Inverted bearish fair value gap. Entry inside of this. Sell off. But we don't take no lows out. The low we want to see get taken out is here. We don't take it out. Come back into it again over here. We don't take no lows out. This the low we would want to see. Um, we don't take a low out until here. The next move we get up, there's a fair value gap with a gap right here. Sell from here. Stop loss above here or here. You targeting this low. And that would be the trade right there.
Yeah.
But you don't get any bearish setups until you get over here. And we get our inversion. So we ain't really looking for no sales until we actually get our setup. Because if we don't get our setup and it's not in line with what's going on, especially in this case, this opposite of what's actually been going on all day. All day we've been buying, right? So if we gonna take a sale, it's gotta be with all of the checkpoints in line.
Mm-hmm.
It can't be just because we see it, right? It's gotta be everything that we say we need to see has to be there for us to take it.
Mm-hmm.
Because at that point, if we try to do it without doing it like that, we putting ourselves in risk, you know,
Yeah.
of taking a bad trade and taking a loss for no reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, that is always better to
Mm-hmm.
stay in line with what we seeing that's going on.
Yeah.
Till
Very good
we get
point.
something that's opposite of that.
Mm-hmm.
And if we don't get nothing that says, hey, this is needs to change directions, then we trade in the direction of the trade. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Did you how'd you do this week?
This week means I did one in on Thursday and one on this Friday. So
Okay.
it was loss. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go ahead and start recording.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, I am